Faust were infamous in experimental music and avant-garde circles, in part because they had this mystique. They came out of the May '68 ferment and were wild and antagonistic and suitably deranged for their era. And they put out a few records through a major label, which was perverse. Within the catalog of this group that was supposed to be just the most extreme, aggressive, far-flung beast, there was a record that even their fans found unlistenable. No one owned it. No one could find it. No one had heard it. The people that had heard it hated it. And that was Outside the Dream Syndicate, which was the record they made with this guy named Tony Conrad, and no one knew who Tony Conrad was.
In 1972, I had gotten my violin out, got it back in shape to go and play in Germany with Lamont. And I thought, like, I'd love to have a chance to record in a little studio somewhere some of this sound, because I think it's very special. And I went and recorded with members of this band, Faust. I called this recording Outside the Dream Syndicate, because I'd left and I wanted actually to separate myself from Lamont. I was outside. I wasn't doing it. I was doing film.
No one had ever put two and two together. You know, that Tony Conrad, the filmmaker, and Tony Conrad, the guy that made the record with Faust that no one wanted to hear, were the same person. And I knew that this Tony Conrad character, the filmmaker, was a professor at the University of New York at Buffalo. I called information in Buffalo, called the university, asked for the media studies department. We released Outside the Dream Syndicate at the end of 1993, and within a year had managed to draw Tony out from beneath the shadow of Faust and establish that this record was a Tony Conrad record. Tony's own story and his history and his performance idiom and his music were all more than fascinating enough to get people talking about Tony Conrad. There was a great deal of curiosity.
It was one of the few pieces of experimental music that actually, on an emotional level, resonated with me. In the course of my life, I've been exposed to some experimental music where it's more interesting to read about it than listen to it. Whereas other experimental musicians like Tony Conrad, it's actually really compelling to listen to the music. One of the things I've always loved about what Tony does is there is still sort of like a chaotic spontaneity. Because sometimes the chaos can be very informative.